What is up, fellow heathens? Welcome back to the channel. So, went to see Black Panther, wanted to give thoughts about it. Here is that video. First half of the video is going to be spoiler-free. I will try to succinctly sum my feelings up in that first section, and in the second half, the spoilers, we're going to get into the things that specifically bothered me with the film. So, we'll just get right into it. I do have some notes over here on the side of the screen that I'm going to be referring to, so if I randomly do that, then I'm looking at my notes. So apologies for that, but had a lot of things going on and wanted to keep my thoughts together. Anyway, so, Black Panther. Meh? Like, if I had to pick two words to sum up this movie, it would be painfully mediocre. Don't buy the hype for this film. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty and the politics behind it and why it's being talked about and blah, 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 and my We Was Kang's group and all that shit. We'll cover that, but just know, going into this as a Marvel Cinematic Universe fan, or maybe you're a fan of the character from the comic books like I was, you're going to be disappointed, because this film, even just as a Marvel film, is weak. And yeah, I'm gonna forget about it tomorrow, probably. Did you like Iron Man 3? Did you like Thor: The Dark World? If you answered in the affirmative to either of those questions, then you'll probably like this movie too, because it sits somewhere in that pantheon. Because it, like I said, it's just kind of a boring movie. The acting's fine. The script is serviceable. It has an arc that makes sense. It has a narrative that makes sense. I largely don't have any problem with that. But a lot of what you're shown on screen, it's just paint by numbers. You know, like, there's a lot of these things. Like, I felt like when you're watching this film, there's some guy sitting behind the director and the writer going like, oh, make sure you include that too. And let's see, what else is on this checklist? Oh, include that. Make sure you have, do you have the chase scene? Do we have the car chase? Okay, great. We've got the car chase. Check. You're kind of going through the film feeling like that. A lot of these things are just being checked off the list. And I get that. It's a Marvel film. You're going to have some of these elements present. But by this point, I think if this movie would have come out back when Iron Man 2 was relevant, or somewhere in that year, this probably would be far more entertaining than it was. But it's just so ho-hum. Like, we've seen almost everything that's in this movie already at least a dozen times by now. You're not going to be surprised by anything. So yeah, capable film. Black Panther. So you're going to... As a comic book fan going into this film, these are the things that I expect a Marvel film to do, especially a standalone film introducing a character to the wider viewing audience. People who are going to the theater to watch these movies who have none of the comic book knowledge about the character or any of his powers, things like that. This movie barely scratches anything with the Black Panther. That's my largest criticism of this film, is that it's not a good Black Panther movie. It's a fine action flick, but it's not a good Black Panther film. It's a lot of pandering. We'll get into that. I'm getting ahead of myself, but it's just not a good superhero origin film. It doesn't showcase his powers in any meaningful way. I feel like he could have been anybody. If you would have taken his skill set and just given it to anyone else, then it wouldn't be important at all. The only thing that would separate him from anyone else is that he's black. That's it. You know, and race is going to be a big discussion that we'll get into, and it's already been the discussion about this movie, and if you don't see this film, you're a racist, and if you do see this film, you're enabling the fucking progressive agenda, and all this bullshit. Just don't... We'll get to that. But the film itself... Acting is fine. I thought Michael B. Jordan did a pretty good job, if it was very hammed up. That the titular character, Black Panther, was very good. And I thought that the supporting cast was very strong. I just feel like the script could have been so much better than what we got. The visuals are good. Some of the CG is good, but a lot of the CG in this is bad. And there's a part of the film that we'll get into in the spoiler section that is just abysmal. I don't know who did they give that entire scene to some college kids, because it looked terrible. So the action scenes themselves, it's like I said, it's a good action movie. Yeah, it's serviceable, but again, paint by numbers. You get a car chase, you get a one-on-one fight scene, you get a large scale battle, and it's just the same check boxes that have been in these films for, God, for so long now. It's just you're kind of, I'm bored with it at this point. They need to do more, and especially if you're going to do an origins film, you're going to introduce this character to a wider audience, showcase his powers and abilities. It needs to be stronger than this, because this was just boring. It is just, the whole film, I'm just like, the whole time I don't care. I'm like waiting for something to jump out and be great. The first act of the film's pretty strong, but then it hits this wall in the second act, and that's when it starts doing all the things you've seen before, and that coasts through till the end of the film. And that's one of the largest criticisms that I'm going to have about it. It was just boring. It's nothing that I'm going to remember. I would tell anyone watching this review, go see, if you really have to see it on a half-price day, or better yet, wait until it's on like Redbox or something. Just rent it, because it's not something you have to go see. That's another problem with this film. It has no bearing on the rest of the MCU at all. You could not have seen this film and going into Infinity War not missed anything. And in fact, you don't even have to. What Black Panther was in Civil War was a better depiction, or more interesting kinetic depiction of the character than this film was. Most of the film, he's just kind of around, and he gets in a couple fight scenes, and that's it. It's very lackluster. The cinematography is very uninspiring too. Most of the scenes are just shot in a very, like, I went to film school, this is how you shoot it. I kind of wish this is the way The Last Jedi was shot, honestly, because at least it's competent in a lot of ways. If boring, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't want to go so far as to saying Last Jedi should have been shot this way, but it's very uninspired while being competent. It's the best praise that I can give it. The villains. Disney! What the fuck is wrong with you guys in not making compelling villains? This is another example of another film coming from Disney where villains just suck. Guys, if your villains do not convince me that they're going to destroy everything or are actually competent villains, I don't care about the plight of the protagonists. The antagonist has to be strong. If you are not spending the time making a convincing antagonist, then I don't care about the protagonist. Now, I will say, Michael B. Jordan's character, the reasoning for the character, the pathos for the character, is serviceable for the plot of the film. It's fine, it's competent, but it's boring. It's been done a billion times, and I just did not, by the end of it, I didn't care. And we'll get into the spoiler section and some problems I even had with that. But the villains, again, Andy Serkis' character, didn't even need him. He could not have been in this movie at all and not have mattered. In fact, there's a huge plot hole in the film that I'll cover in a bit with him that I don't know why was he in this film? I mean, I get it. Him and Bilbo Baggins were your diversity picks for this film, which is funny, I guess. But come on, if you're going to use Andy Serkis, use him. He was so underutilized. That's so painful to me that he was just not used. So we're going to end the general review portion of this video with, you don't have to see this. Nothing about this film is compelling enough that would tell me to tell you have to go see this movie. It connects wonderfully to the rest of the Marvel MCU. No, it doesn't. It doesn't connect in any way, actually, other than what happens at the very end of the movie, and I guess kind of, I suppose, but you could have done that in a comic or something. Like, the whole film was mostly pointless. So yeah, wait for Redbox, or if you have to see this in a theater, just go when it's a $5 view, because it's not worth full price. So there's my review of this film. Now, going into the spoiler section, I'm letting you know right now, this is your warning. You can turn off the video, go do something else, and come back later when you've seen the film if you feel that you should, and then you can listen. So this is the spoiler section. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So, this part's going to be a little bit more scatterbrained because largely I have some bullet points over here, but I'm going to be kind of just ranting. So if you want to go clean or play a video game, whatever, please feel free to minimize me and not look at this while you do that. So, problems I had with this film. I addressed this in the first part of the video. It's not a good Black Panther film. Black Panther has a pretty cool emphasis on the supernatural element to his character. Yes, he is part Captain America, I suppose, but that's only given to him by the Panther god Bast. And in this film, in other Marvel films, you get a origin film for them. You get to see how they get their powers. You can see how they go from zero to hero. That's Marvel. Like, that's a superhero film, right? If you're going to do the standalone, you need to show that. This film kind of, it drops you into some moment in, which is presumably closer in the timeline to where we're going to be at now going into Infinity War, but it doesn't add up. It sucks that we don't have Storm as a love interest for him. Instead, we have this other random chick who I've never heard of. So she's in this, and I understand. Disney just got the rights to Fox, so we don't have Storm and the X-Men in these franchises yet. But it sucks that we don't have that. I'm not a fan of that. Two, going back to the Panther God and his supernatural side, it does not... You do a disservice to the Black Panther by not showing that stuff. I get that you want to be safe in showing a more grounded, street-level vision of the Black Panther, making him a little bit more analogous to something like Daredevil, I guess. Funny enough, he actually took over for Daredevil for a small stint in the comic books. He actually owned a diner, if I recall. Anyway, that's an aside. The point is, they tried to make him more grounded by cutting out a little more of the supernatural stuff. You do see some of that with the... he has the ancestral visions of the previous Black Panthers and stuff like that. But you don't... You don't touch upon the supernatural aspect enough in terms of his communion with the Panther God. There are literal gods in that story, in the Black Panther mythos. It's not there in this movie. You hear allusions to it, but it's just kind of like, bury him in the sand, close his eyes, give him the fruit. Yeah, the fruit's important, and you do see the heart-shaped fruit in the movie, which is, I mean, okay, cool, but we need more of that. This is what, random aside, random tangent here, and I'm gonna own this shit. I'm a huge Moon Knight fan. I know there's not a lot of Moon Knight fans out there. I don't know why, because Moon Knight's fucking cool, and Marvel, you need to make a Moon Knight film, but this movie makes me worried about a Moon Knight film, because it tells me that they are scared of touching upon more of the supernatural elements, and that's confusing, because you have things like Doctor Strange and Thor, so you can have this, but I wonder if the success of those films, particularly the Thor films, have scared them away from doing those, when I know that the Iron Man movies and the Captain America movies have sold more, and Guardians of the Galaxy, it's a little bit more science fiction, but so I'm totally scared of them not being able to do a Moon Knight film justice. Viewers, if you don't know who Moon Knight is, go look that shit up. He's fucking awesome. I would love to see a Moon Knight movie. All right, that tangent, we're done with that. Moving on to the rest of this film. First act is really good. It's strong. You got some build-up of character motivations. It basically takes place right after Civil War, where his dad, T'Chaka, dies. And it picks up right after that. I don't like that decision. I wish they would have went back and showed him becoming Black Panther, which is more of like a title in their society. Like, becoming that, the communion with the god, the responsibilities he's supposed to have. More, I like that the film touched on the politics, but I wish we would have seen more of Wakanda in the earlier days under T'Chaka. Why those previous leaders made the decisions that they made. Other than, it's funny to me that a lot of the discussion about this film is, it's Black Lives Matter rhetoric and all this crap is surrounding it, which is bullshit, because the villain in this film is the one espousing those ideas. Which I liked, that was the choice there. But there are still some woke ass moments in this film, like the one, like Black Panther's sister. When you are referring to white people as colonizers, that it was the cringiest shit I have seen in a film in a long time. Way to pander to your base. Imagine, and it's even in this film too, but imagine if, it's literally in this film, but imagine if in another film, we referred to blacks as spear chuckers, or in some other derogatory phraseology like that, some other completely insulting phrase. Imagine if we had did that. What do you think the reaction would be? I would feel like vitriol would not do it justice, but it's funny to me, though, that this film was like, white people the whole time. I said that this segment's going to be kind of ranty and all over the place, and it is. So we were in the theater, and there was probably 7 of us. This was the preview night on Thursday is when I saw it. There were probably 7 of us in the theater, and I think 4 of the other people in the theater were black. I didn't hear a single laugh from anyone in this movie. The comedy in this film was shit. That is so uncharacteristic for a Marvel film. You expect that there to be good laughs. I don't think anyone laughed one time. I know I didn't. The whole time I was just leaning on my fucking armchair just like, okay. But no one behind me was laughing. The comedy sucked. Even when it was trying so hard to be like, haha, white people. Not even we had the 4 people behind us were black people, and they didn't laugh at all. They were probably just as fucking bored as we were. And the one guy had his kid with him, and I heard them in the bath. This is going to sound anecdotal, but they were in the bathroom afterwards taking a piss, and he was like, "What'd you think of it?" And the kid's like, "Eh." I'm like, "Yeah, that's how I feel too, man. Like, this movie was just meh." So there's that. Okay, getting back to plot details. So the script is competent. It's just boring, and it has plot holes. So how about that scene? So Andy Serkis's character. We get to Andy Serkis's character, Claw, and he is supposed to be... he's actually a pretty important villain in the Black Panther comic books originally, and he is kind of faithfully reproduced, but they don't touch on any of him. He's just glossed over. And I thought that was sad and unfortunate because it's Andy Serkis, and he's a damn good actor. He could have carried the villain in this film, but they had to go with black-on-black crime, I guess, and use Killmonger, and which is also a villain in the established lore for Black Panther. But it was just unfortunate that they underutilized Claw, who was trying to steal the fucking vibranium and all this wonderful shit. But then so let me play this out for you. Killmonger goes... Okay, had to gather the series of events in my head. So, Claw gets captured by the good guys, and he's being interrogated. He is then rescued by Killmonger. He gets outside, and Black Panther's there, right? I want you to think back to Civil War. Remember that scene where Panther is fucking booking it down that interstate in that tunnel scene with Captain America? Holy shit. He is booking it in that scene. And in this film, the Killmonger breaks Andy Serkis out, and they're back by the van. Black Panther gets punched once, and Black Panther's on the ground. Why? You just established that your suit has cool kinetic powers and can absorb stuff, and you should be perfectly fine with the hit you took. But you're not? Why? You could have just got up and followed the fucking van and ended that right there, but we have to create arbitrary tension. That was fucking stupid. Another fucking stupid part happens later in the film where his sister suggests... Black Panther suggests to his sister, you should turn on the monorail things because it'll hinder the abilities of the suits that we're wearing. And when Killmonger gets his Black Panther suit and all this shit... So, which is, again, that's not how that works. You don't only eat the fruit and you just can get those powers. That's not how that works. The film glosses over a lot of the details, which I thought was stupid, because, again, they were scooting the supernatural stuff. But anyway, they're down there fighting, and for some reason there's a monorail still running, and this moment of crisis. Okay, Black Panther tells his sister, "Oh, you need to turn on the stuff so that it'll hinder our suits." And she's like, "Yeah, but you won't be able to use your suit either." And he's like, "I know, but then we both won't have defenses." That was one of the stupidest things in this film. At no point does that affect the fight scene between them. It was completely pointless. It was so stupid. I'm sitting there and I look over at my buddy Tim and I'm like, what are they? We're just laughing after the film. We're like, why did you do that? That was so dumb. Because they don't at the very end of the fight scene, he sneaks a dagger in, which okay. But what about, why were you doing that the entire time to begin with if you were only looking for that one little opening at the end, which only happened by fucking pure luck? It was just so contrived. It was one of those things where the dungeon master is setting up the fight, and you know that you're going to have to roll this and jump over that, and then you'll get to the thing. You could have seen it from a mile away, and I hated it. I was just waiting for that fight scene to be done. Speaking of that fight scene, the CG in that fight scene, holy shit, was that terrible. They looked like 90s PC in-game engine graphics is what that looked like. It looked like someone had spent all of 5 weeks animating that scene, and that was it. And they were like, all right, it's good enough, it's fine, it's whatever, it's motion capture, it's fine, it's done. But it wasn't motion capture. It looked like the actors were modeled in that scene, which made them look really janky. And when they did the close-ups and a lot of the slow-mo spins and stuff, it looked fucking bad. And I mean bad. That CG was terrible. And for the most part in the film, a lot of the CG effects kind of work, but there are some scenes like that scene doesn't work. And then when he's in the Plane of the Undead, that scene is clearly on a fucking backlot in a blue screen somewhere. It killed it for me. The politics. So this is the heavy discussion. This is the controversial aspect of this film. The reason why Rotten Tomatoes, we're going to get to that in a second, but why they won't let people give it negative reviews, because they think that hate groups are going to mass review this film in the negative just to slight black people, which is just fucking ridiculous. Like, if you're so scared of your film being judged on those merits, don't make your interviews completely racially based. If your entire racial fucking sphere of influence is completely absorbed in this film, you have automatically poisoned the conversation. You've poisoned the well. That's the reason why people are mad about this film. That's why there's a controversy at all. I don't think a film with only black characters is bad. I went to go see it because I like the Black Panther. And it's funny, I got it from both sides. I heard, like from one group, they're like, oh, if you go see this movie, you're just enabling the fucking, the progressive agenda and fucking the Black Lives Matter movement. No, I'm not. If you know me, no, I'm not. And the other side is, oh, this movie's for us. This is only for black people. Fuck you, whites. This movie isn't for you. Guess who bankrolled this film, you morons? Guess who's actually pulling the fucking strings? Yeah, exactly. No, don't be stupid. The racial shit about this film is so banal. It shows the intelligence of a lot of people to resort to that for this film. But what's even funnier to me is in this film, I said it earlier, like they constantly refer to whites as colonialists, colonizers in this derogatory way, and the villain of the film, he's constantly like, oh, we gotta take it back from the white people. It's cringy as shit. This is something straight out of some Black Lives Matter fantasy land. It's unfortunate because the comic books weren't really like this. I think with a character like here, this is the right way you discuss the character in terms of race, right? Everyone wants representation. Everyone from all walks of life likes to see a representation of them or their group in a positive way. Black Panther is absolutely that for the black people. So is Blade, and so are all these other great characters that have been made. Nick Fury, you can't just say that that white people are only for their collective, so we have to be only for our collective. You're doing the exact same thing that everyone else is doing. It's what the legacy media wants you to do. They want you to go at each other's throats. You know, we can call a spade a spade. I call feminism out every fucking time I see it. Fucking social justice bullshit every single time I see it. The interviews and the marketing for this film have been driven that way for obvious reasons. It's painfully obvious why they're doing that. Don't fall for it. Go see this movie on your own. Judge it by its own merits. Is it a good film? I don't think it's a good film. It's an okay film. It's fine. I'll never watch it again, probably, unless it's like on TV or something and I'm very bored. But it's just not. It's not really worth the hype. But back to the race baiting shit. Don't fall for that crap. Don't feed into the machine, because that's what they want. They need that blood to grease the fucking treads of their tanks, and you don't, as Patton would say, don't give it to them. You know, it's fine that we can have movies like this. It's totally acceptable that we can have films with nothing but black casts showing a fantasy culture of theirs, and that's great. I think that's fine. I love Thor. I am from the Scandinavian countries. Those technically are my people. So of course I'm very drawn to Norse mythology. I'm very drawn to those things. So I think something like this that's showing black culture in such a positive way is great. Now, let's also dissect the interesting thing about Wakanda. Wakanda is very much a pre-World War I protectionist, isolationist nation. Isn't that interesting that a lot of these never-Trumpers, I'm not a Trump voter, but I do say this because it is hilarious to me that these people are just so #resist. They're very cringy. But these people think that Wakanda is the way it should be, when the person we have as president already advocates for those policies. So I find that interesting, that people do not see the irony in what that comparison actually is. So yeah, there is elements in this film where it's constantly telling you, yay, black people and white people are bad. But what is awesome is that Black Panther doesn't buy into that shit. He actually, if you pay attention throughout the movie, he's saying, why has our country been like this? We should be more inclusive. It's a great message of camaraderie, and we should give what we have, share what we have with the world. And that's interesting because that opens up trade, give and take. It's not as collectivist as communists think, and it's not as protectionist as a lot of nationalists think. He opens it up. He opens the discussion up to give and take, and that's great. I think that's a great message. The film is serviced by that through Black Panther, and it's funny to me though, online, the comments you read from people, #Black Lives Matter, #Wakanda Forever, all this kind of shit. Okay, but do you realize who was the protagonist and who was the antagonist in that film, and what was being said by whom? Because the Black Panther was saying the right thing. We need to stop looking at race and bullshit, and start giving more of a shit about more. We have more in common than he says it. He says it at the end of the fucking movie. We have more in common than we have in difference, and that's a great message. That's cool. It's just funny to me you have all these social justice warriors out there who are going to completely miss messages like that. All of that shit's going to go over their head, and they're going to be like, yeah, the fucking colonizers, those fucking white people, the white devil, we got to bring them down. That is going to be what they take away from this film. And isn't that sad? That's where our politics have taken us now. It's fucking pathetic. So all of that out of the way. Just move the race shit to the sides and ignore it. Judge the film on its own merits. That's my review, guys. Meh. Is it worth 97% on Rotten Tomatoes? No, it's not. And I thought it would be fun to go there and have ourselves a little bit of a laugh at some of the reviews there, because they are completely Insane. And they must have seen a totally different movie. And if this doesn't convince you that there's an agenda at play here, because clearly there's an agenda with a movie like this, I don't know what will. When you see it for yourself, you might see what I'm talking about. But all right, so boom, we're gonna go to Capture down here. All right, let's take a look at some of the reviews here. Some of these woke ass gems of reviews. All right, the identity politics provide a fresh spin to the genre's increasingly tedious narrative formula. It is narrative. This film is as tedious of a narrative as you can get. I can't think of another film other than Iron Man 3 and Thor: The Dark World that wasn't as tedious. Like, that was as tedious. This movie is as tedious as those films are. So, this guy's insane. A uniquely satisfying popcorn entertainment. No, it's not. A triumphant trifecta of subject matter, talent, and timing. Again, the acting's good. The subject matter, what do you mean? An isolationist nation deciding to join the rest of the world? Okay. So we could have done any movie from, the industrial period of Japan and done the same thing? Okay. Let's see. Chadwick Boseman is the star of the movie, but he is fighting a losing battle against scene stealers like Michael B. Jordan. I don't know about that. I thought that Chadwick Boseman was pretty good. Michael B. Jordan was okay. But you can tell he was just a caricature of the Black Lives Matter propaganda that you see online. It was just... it was cringy a lot of times. It was pretty cringy. Let's see. Ryan Coogler enlivens what could have been a tired rehashing of familiar tropes with a bracing blast of fresh elements. What fresh elements? What about this movie was fresh? Everything in this movie has been done 1,000 times. I want you to look at these people. Look at the reviews that these are coming from. Never trust them again, if you ever did. Never trust a single fucking word that comes out of their mouth, because these are some of the most dishonest people I have ever seen write words for a film. Jordan has swagger to spare with those rolling shoulders. What? But there's a breath of charm too, all the more seductive in the overblown atmosphere of Marvel. He's twice as Pantherish as the Panther. Is he? What? Because he's angry? Because he's some fucking pissed off black dude from the Bronx? I don't understand. Or from fucking God, where was he from? Fucking Oakland? Like, so because he literally plays a stereotype, he's more of a Black Panther? Kiss my ass. Like, this is the shit that we don't want. Ultimately, it's more interesting to think about than it is to watch. I kind of would agree with that, but I don't even think that's worth your time. At least you're honest in saying that it's not very good to watch. A big and bold change of focus in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is it Black Panther pushes past many of the cliched plot devices. Wrong! Nope. Fucking, are you kidding me? This whole movie is a cliche. Everything in this is an archetype. Okay, Minneapolis Star Tribune, go right to hell. Colin Covert, go right to hell. You have no fucking clue what you're talking about. You saw a completely different film than me, and I would love to see the film you're talking about, but this is not it. Oh, God. A masterful, entertaining, and brilliantly smart Marvel installment. Black Panther is the superhero film we need right now. We may not deserve it. Oh, you poor bleeding heart. Oh my God. The fucking virtue coming off of this statement is absolutely dreadful. A masterful, entertaining, brilliantly smart Marvel installment. In what way, ma'am? In what way? I defy you to prove to me that this film is masterful in any way. I want you to put this against some of the best films of all time and tell me how it stacks up. This movie wouldn't even make the top 100 films. It wouldn't even make the top 200 films of all time. No fucking way. You know why? Because I can already fucking tell by looking at this picture what this person has to say about this film. This is the shit you're gonna read online. Marvel's world-building energy is actually focused in exciting and provocative ways. I think there was decent world-building in this, I would agree. I think that's cool because we're seeing a new place, but reflecting African culture and experience in the film's amazing production design. Okay, I would agree with this. I think the production design's actually pretty good in the scenes that have it. That's not just total, lame-ass CG. So yeah, I would agree with that. But, so yeah, isn't this interesting? Look at all these fresh reviews. And I mean, where are the rotten ones? 9? Not, that's it? 9? Are you kidding? Way too much expository dialogue, and there are too many turgid flashbacks. Excuse me. What's the problem? Well, there's way too much expository dialogue, and there are too many turgid flashbacks. The hand-to-hand fighting and battle sequences are so formulaic and predictable in Marvel films that the adrenaline just doesn't kick in. Yes, 100% this. Oh my god, when you watch the film, you'll see the formulaic is the best word that you could describe this film. It is formulaic and predictable as all hell. To the credit of the film, the crew is predominantly black. Oh, okay, again, I don't care. The stunts are feeble, though. The special effects fail to wow. Absolutely. Even the end credits teasers aren't fun. Yeah, they don't lead into any of the new movies at all. They're completely throwaway. They don't set up for the films whatsoever. My friend Tim, that was his biggest problem with this, actually, was that it didn't lead into anything. It was like this drop of nothing in a void. This film was so pointless. Spirals into a stodgy tale of internecine feuding in which T'Challa is required to come to terms with the sins of past generations. What he doesn't get to do much of is jump around beating up bad guys. That's a shame. Exactly! He doesn't get to be Black Panther in hardly any of this film. That sucks. That really sucks. You're supposed to be going to see a superhero flick, and what you get is a lot of dumb politics, and that's it. You really... There are some battle scenes, but they're lame. Has more in common with the second-tier Marvel tales on Netflix. I would totally agree with that. Especially something like Luke Cage. And I don't mean that just as an erased comparison, but I mean in terms of storytelling. It's just that bland and paint by numbers. Insipid, soulless, overproduced bore. Yes, 100%. Totally agree with this. So, yeah, that's that. We'll go back to this. We'll leave it at that. You can do a lot of that perusing yourself. But 9. There's only 9 rotten reviews right now. Interesting, Rotten Tomatoes. Guys, it's just meh. Don't waste your time. Don't believe the hype. Don't fall for the politics, the race-baiting bullshit. Just move on. It's not important. People are making this... The lamestream media, of course, is making this to be more of a thing than it actually is. We'll catch up with you again soon. I'll be doing a couple more videos that I've got in the pipeline. I have a lot of writing for them. I just have not put them to film yet. I've been really busy because Monster Hunter's been out, and that has consumed almost 200 hours of my life. So, sorry about that, but it's Monster Hunter. I have to. So, guys, that's going to be it for me today. Thanks for watching. If you're all the way here till the end, I really appreciate it. Thanks for sticking around. I've got a couple other videos on here that you can check out if you like. I did a review of Wonder Woman. I talked a lot about Star Wars The Last Jedi. If you're watching this, you probably know me from that. So that's great. Stick around. I'll keep doing movie reviews. I'll keep doing these fun rant-style videos. And yeah, more to come in the future. Thanks for listening, guys. Peace.